How did the Dyatlov Pass hikers actually die? I'm going to rank every theory from plausible to absurd. If you're new here, hi, I'm Gigi, and I am writing a fictional retelling of the Dyatlov Pass. If you don't know, the Dyatlov Pass is a crazy unsolved mystery that happened in 1959 Russia when 9 Russian hikers went to receive their Ski 3 certification by taking this grueling trek in the Russian Ural Mountains. None of them returned alive. The mystery has been a global phenomenon for the past 60 years because of the weird and strange occurrences that happened on this mountain. Some of them were missing their eyes and their tongue. Some of them had burns. Some of them had radiation on their clothes. Some of them had severely bruised ribs and concussions. Not only this, but their bodies were found hundreds of meters away from the tent, not only from the tent, but from each other. And to make it even weirder, their tent was cut open from the inside and all their belongings were found in the tent. Other than a few items of clothing, most of them were half naked in the snow. So, safe to say, this is a pretty weird case. And after all this evidence, they declare that they died from the weather and a compelling natural force. If that doesn't scream cover up to you in 1959 USSR Soviet Russia, then I don't know what does. We're going to start with the most basic theory, which is the avalanche theory. And it's not just any avalanche theory, it's the slab avalanche theory. They reopened the case in 2019 and they closed it again, stating that they died from the weather, they died from hypothermia, and it possibly was a slab avalanche. Now, this is still a theory, this is still not 100% proven, and they did a experiment, a little bit of snow breaks off from the mountain and falls onto their tent. So what they thought was an avalanche, they cut open their tent, they were in a panic, they ran into the snow, and it was blizzard, it was snowing, it was the middle of the night, they didn't know where they were, they got lost, and they all just died. This one's plausible. I would say it's one of the most probable, but to me it still doesn't explain the missing eyes and missing tongue, which some people say are scavengers. Okay, sure. It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense. It might explain why they left the tent, but it doesn't explain the burns or the radiation on the clothes. None of that weird stuff. The second theory is katabatic wind and infrasound. And this one I kind of lumped into one. Infrasound is something really similar. I think it could happen because of the wind also, but it's a sound that is unheard to the human ear, but it again causes panic, dizziness, and the hikers can be, unaware of why this is happening. They just all of a sudden are in a panic. All of a sudden you're paranoid, you don't know why, and you cut open your tent from the inside. You think something's happening. You think maybe there's an avalanche. I don't know, but you're going crazy, and you cut open your tent and you leave and you run. And again, it's the same thing. Blizzard, nighttime, you get lost. It explains the tent being cut open. To me, it still doesn't explain the rest. Although it's a fun theory, and if you look into the science behind it, it's actually really cool. The third theory is one of my favorites. It's military testing. Are we surprised by this one? No. So another hiking group nearby claimed to have seen strange orbs in the sky. And not only this was also corroborated by a photo that they have, the hikers took, of strange orbs in the sky. And it also is corroborated by the fact that there was missile testing in the area nearby, apparently not on the date of their deaths, which was February midnight of February 1st / morning of February 2nd. But there was missile testing going on in the nearby base at the same time. And that is corroborated by witness reports. That's corroborated by the Russians themselves at the base testing. I mean, that's if you believe whatever they tell you. And they haven't kept anything secret from us before, have they? The fourth theory is group violence. So someone could have gone crazy in the group. There is actually a journal entry from one of the hikers. They stated that Yuri K was supposed to sleep by the stove in the tent, and it was so hot that he got up and he was cursing the group, and he was like, I'm not sleeping there, blah blah. And he got up and started talking to Alexander K, who was apparently the lookout for the night, and they got into a huge argument and were arguing for like hours. But again, there's not really a lot of proof of this other than the bruised ribs, concussion. Maybe this compelling natural force could have been external injuries received from somebody attacking them. The fifth theory is the toxic exposure. I did a deep dive into this one, and what I found is that there was toxic exposure on 2 of the hikers' clothing. First, tell me if this is suspicious or not. One day, May 28th, I think, May 27th, they discovered radiation on the clothing. May 28th, the case was closed. Do with that what you will. Seems a little suspicious to me. Then, on May 29th, they hired a chief radiologist, and he said that the radiation was so heavy that it definitely didn't come from natural occurring work. This was not naturally occurring radiation. This was very, very high levels of radiation. The sixth theory I'm not in love with because it persecutes a local indigenous tribe, and they live in the Ural Mountains in Russia. And it's a theory that they planned this, or they caused this, or they literally attacked this group. This one's hard because there were only 9 sets of footprints again. The Mansi also helped in finding the bodies, so they were part of the search and rescue team. So I just don't love to put the blame on them. But some of the evidence I found for this theory is that hikers were fascinated by the Mansi culture. They saw many of their carvings in the trees. They were following their hunting trails, and they had written Mansi words in their dictionary, in their journals, and were defining them. And so it's weird because none of them directly mention meeting the Mansi or speaking with the Mansi, but they were fascinated by them. And at the same time, there are witnesses in the village that said the Mansi did warn them not to go to both Mount Ortoten, which was their final destination, and Mount Kolotskil. The seventh attack is the Yeti attack. This is a fun one. It is mostly due to the fact of this picture that was found on the hikers' cameras. It looks like a strange Yeti-like creature in the background. You're not entirely sure. The limbs are kind of strange proportions, and I think that's what brings this picture to the forefront of everyone's mind. Again, it's just weird because there are no other footprints, but I don't know, maybe a Yeti doesn't leave footprints. I mean, I don't really know how they work. And if you do the research, then it goes into, the Nephilim, which are the giants in the Bible, and them being present in the Ural Mountains, and are the Yeti the same thing as a Nephilim? And then it also goes into the research I did on the Mansi, who do also have, of course, folklore of Yeti, which they call the Menti, and how they eat women and children, usually steal them from the villages, which could explain the missing eyes and tongue. I mean, you just never know. I guess it could explain the injuries, could explain why the hikers were so freaked out, but it also leaves a lot to be explained. And then, of course, there's a last theory, which is the paranormal. And this kind of encompasses a lot of things. If you've seen the movie The Devil's Pass, then that encompasses, spoiler, time travel and like monsters sort of thing. If you think about ghosts, if you think about maybe electromagnetic fields, if you think about, places that harbor energy in strange locations, maybe Mount Kolotskil is just one of those places. But this is such a fun mystery, and I'm really fascinated to get by it again. I am writing a book about it, so if you are as fascinated by this unsolved mystery as I am, then please follow along. Please follow my socials because I am documenting what I'm doing, and I am also writing Dyatlov case files on Substack. Okay, real Dyatlov case files, things that I discover in real time, things like the 11th hiker, things like, why the 2019 reinvestigation wasn't that interesting, why people don't really care about it, even though it was supposed to be this, life-changing thing. Things like profiles on each of the hikers. I am trying to create a little Dyatlov Pass army, and I love you guys so much. I love all the crazy theories, so keep them coming.